For 4 straight years, I fought for Christians like no president has ever fought before. You know that. I protected the religious freedom of doctors, nurses, teachers, and faith groups like the Little Sisters of the Poor. Oh, I fought for them. I blocked the IRS. They were coming after everybody. They still are, I guess, to an extent. But now they are because of this administration. But I blocked the IRS from using the Johnson Amendment to interfere with pastors' freedom of speech. I mean, we want to hear from our pastors. We don't want them to be shy, where they take away your tax-exempt status because a pastor mentioned something that's slightly political, and I ended it. Kamala Harris has taken it away, and we're not. I'll tell you what. If you take it, she has taken your right away. I gave that to you, and they took it back. But we're going to give it back to you within the first week. I'd like to make it the first day, but it'll take me a little while. So we're going to give it back to you within the first week. You're going to have that right, because we want to hear from these people. There aren't too many people I want to hear from, but you I do want to hear from. So we're going to give you back within the first week, and Paula will make sure that that takes place. I will not disappoint you. I appointed 300 judges to interpret the law and the Constitution as written, and withstood the vicious attacks to confirm 3 great Supreme Court justices, Neil Gorsuch, Brett Kavanaugh, and Amy Coney Barrett. They're great. And they're courageous. They're courageous and they're brilliant, but they are courageous. What they have to endure with the radical left and all of the things that they have to listen to, I actually think it's illegal what people do. They call it playing the ref. You know, playing the ref? They'll say horrible things, hoping that the 3, but also judges, they play the ref with judges. The great Bobby Knight basketball, he used to scream at the referee. He would scream like nobody ever screamed before. Indiana, here's a great guy. He backed me early on. He said, "You're going to win." I said, "Well, I don't know, Bobby." He said, "You're going to win. I have no doubt." He said, "I want this guy named Trump to run for president." I didn't know him. I called him up to thank him. He said, "You're going to win. All you have to do is say it. You got to run." And he was a tough cookie. Just died recently. But he had the last undefeated team in college basketball. He won 2 or 3 national championships. He was a great coach. And he never had the great, he had a couple, I guess, great players, but he never had that real player that some teams have. He just did it with team. But he would scream at the referees. They call it playing the ref. And they'd say, Bobby, you got to stop, Bobby. Don't do it. You're not going to win this call. You're not going to win it. It's over. He said, "No, but I'm going to win the next call." And it's true. They'd knock the hell out of somebody, and the referee was afraid to call it. It's true. He was a master. But they do that. They play the ref. They start screaming about the judge is no good, and this one's no good, and they're slow, and they're lousy judges, and the judge should be impeached, and all of this crap when you have a brilliant judge that's doing the right thing. And they get, and some people will fold a little bit. They'll say, "Hey, I'll get them off my back. Let me just give a bad ruling here or there." And some will do that, actually, but fortunately, most have courage and they understand. I really believe it's illegal what they do, and I know there's some great lawyers in the room. You ought to look at it, because what they do is so obvious. What they've done to the Supreme Court, even with the protection of their houses, you're not supposed to be allowed to march in front. They didn't stop it. You're not allowed to do any of these things that are happening. But they're playing the ref, and they're playing it with judges and justices, and they shouldn't be allowed to do it, and I believe it's illegal. I issued guidance making clear that the right to freedom of worship does not end at the door to a public school. We took care of it. Thank you. Thank you very much. And I stood proudly with our friend and ally, the state of Israel. I kept my promise, recognized Israel's eternal capital, and opened the American embassy in Jerusalem, and actually got it built. I actually got it built. But many presidents before me said they campaigned on doing that, and then they didn't do it. And I understand why, because when I got into office, I was called by people, heads of state, highest level, I was called by kings and prime ministers. I was called by everybody. Don't do it. Don't do it. And then they heard I was going to do it. And they all called me. And I said, just do me a favor. I shouldn't say this because little white, what'd you call it? Yeah, I wasn't available. I said, just tell them I won't be available, but I'll call. This, I think, was a Thursday. I said, I'll call you back on Monday. To kings, to the biggest people from the biggest countries, most powerful countries. And I said, I'll call you back. And then on Thursday, I announced it. I said, we are going to do exactly what a lot of people didn't want me to do. They said there'd be bloodshed and everything else all over. There was none. And I did something that no other president had the courage to do. And then on Monday, I called them back. Hi. How have you been? Oh, I tried getting you. I wasn't able to, but you've already done it. So we made Jerusalem the capital, and that brought a lot of... Did you know that? That was something. I didn't know. So, but I understood why other presidents were. I mean, every single person that campaigned for decades and decades, every president said they were going to do it. None of them did it. I did. I also recognized Israeli sovereignty over the Golan Heights. The Golan Heights was a big deal. The Golan Heights, that's another thing. 72 years, people would come in and leave. They'd meet every year, every 2 years about the Golan Heights. And I spoke with David Friedman. I said, give me a lesson in 5 minutes or less on the Golan Heights. And he did. Talked about how important it was strategically. And before all of the modern equipment and radar and all of that we have now. But it was unbelievably important from a military, because it was the highest point in the Middle East. And I did that, and nobody even asked for that because they thought that would be a bridge too far, but I did that for Israel. And I was the first and only president to convene a meeting at the United Nations to end religious persecution worldwide. Nobody's done what I've done in terms of religion, in terms of Christianity, but in terms of religion, nobody's done what I did. And we did all of this and much more in 4 short years, and I will keep on fighting for our cherished American values when we become the 47th President of the United States.